the Tall Friendly Atheist Dad, host of the Tall Friendly Atheist Dad podcast, and welcome to part 8 of Bible Defense of Slavery by Reverend Josiah Priest. Now, again, I'd have the music playing, which I do now. Silly me. Yes, music playing. Yeah. Sorry, yes, you have music playing. I'd in the background. I'd fumble around for getting my stuff together. But you can see me fumble now as I. Which one was it? Beautiful, this one here. So, yes, so slightly controversial book. Ads, bloody ads. So yeah. This is I haven't seen this. I've lived in Melbourne for years and I haven't seen this part of Melbourne. Anyway, so on the screen is there you go. So this is a Moonee Ponds Creek Trail, Melbourne Airport to Brunswick Road. Yeah. So, yeah. So this book is actually it's a pro-slavery book written in the, I think, 1840s, if I'm not mistaken. By a Christian minister. Josiah Priest is a minister. And what actually a better. So Moonee Ponds Creek Trail I biked here with Google Maps, and Gearly going to give you a like, good sir. There you go. And you can watch and listen to that as I talk. Actually, better turn the sound on, otherwise. There you go. There's the sound. Enjoy that. So if you do have the book with me, I got the book from Google Books. What's it called? Google. Oh, look, it's Google something or other. But yeah, the Google app for books, and you can actually download books for free. Free books. How good's that? And out of copyright as well, so you don't have to worry about downloading books. So if you do have the PDF in front of you, page 74, and this is in a chapter titled Origin, Character, and Fortunes of the Negro Race. So with a title like that, guess how you can only guess how wonderfully charitable he is to African people. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, let's go. But still further in agreement with the opinion of there having been in the outset of time after the flood 3 different human complexions among men, we learn that there has been discovered within a few years by a traveller some very curious paintings in the subterranean chambers of the dead beneath the ruins of one of the ancient cities of Egypt. These paintings were found executed on the walls of the royal sepulchres and delineated 3 races of men distinguished by their complexions, their forms, and the signs of their grades in society. As to their complexions, they were white, red, and black. The white men were placed in such attitudes as denoted them to have been legislators or lawgivers. The red men as warriors with the instruments of war and slaughter in their hands. The black men as servants or slaves with tools of husbandry in their grasp. These paintings were so curiously and perfectly executed that at the time of their late discovery, they were as bright and vivid as if but newly painted. Hearn's Historical Researches in Africa, Volume 2, page 90. Okay, I've only got like 2 paragraphs in this chapter, and I'll comment on this part. And give me a sec. I'll let my son in. Thus we have, as we believe, made out that the Negro race were known, as they are now known, to have been black with woolly heads too near the time of the flood to admit of the operations of the climates to have done so strange a work as to have changed mankind from some other hue to that of black, and therefore shows that they were thus urcated or erected as before. Aerated, I think is the word. Is it? The PDF scan's a little bit wonky. Sorry. Sorry, I'm about to say. We shall therefore close this section and pass to other matters which concern the fortunes of the children of Ham. Oh, what happened? You fell off? Okay, go clean it up then. No. What God has done remains steadfast and true. Nature leaps not its bounds to products new, but always is the same without a change, in men or trees, through nature's mighty range. What though a bear is white in Arctic snows, and black in warmer climes where blooms the rose? Yet this a bear in nature, shape and gait, and cannot be a fox at any rate. Oh boy, racism writ large, just what we needed. All right, let me cut the sound on that and put the sound on that. Oh, hold on, let me actually turn the music on. Victim of Illusion, victimofillusion.bandcamp.com. Pick up their album Invisible Light for a very reasonable price. Let's hit the music. There you go. All right, so what I was going to say before was, so they reckon this guy found, this person found 3 races depicted in the paintings, white, red, and black. Here's a question: which one were the Jews? Because if we read the Bible account, the Jews were, oppressed and enslaved, and there is absolutely no mention of black people being slaves in the Bible because the Jews were the slaves. So at what stage did the Egyptians record the Jews leaving Jews leaving Egypt, and when did the blacks replace the Jews as the slaves? And were there not Jews and blacks working together to to be Egypt's slaves? See, if the Bible account was correct, then we should see evidence of Jews being slaves or of blacks and Jews working together. But we don't see Jews as slaves in Egypt. So that kind of, to me, is kind of a bit of a tough one to resolve. I'm sure an apologist somewhere has some sort of far-fetched explanation then as to why, the Pharaoh didn't want to admit that he'd lost Jews, so he didn't put any of them in the cave paint or the pyramid paintings. No, some really dumb stuff like that.
Where's my phone?
What do you mean, where's your phone? Where you left it?
Can you call it?
Can I call it? All right, let me.
Okay.
I can still call it if you want. All right, so where was I? Yeah, so, oh boy. Then this last passage, this poem here. What God has done remains steadfast and true. Nature leaps not to its bounds, so products new, but always is the same without a change. So is this guy saying that there is no, nature doesn't change at all? We do see changes in nature. We see creatures, we see animals adapt, we see viruses adapt, we see, people are getting taller, people are getting stronger, people are getting faster. There are changes, though those changes are slow. And that, how far are we into the Okay. Yeah, we are seeing, how can I say, and then we look through the fossil record, we look through genetics and the fossil record, and what do we see? We see lots of change. We see, but I will agree with this last sentence here that, the bear does not change into a fox. That is, glad we're on that one. So I'm now going to go to page 76. This is the 5th section of Origin, Character, and Fortunes of the Negro Race. So this guy's really laying it into the black people. Yeah, great. Just racism writ large. 3, 2, 1. The 3 sons of Noah, all born more than 100 years before the flood, aided in building the ark. Reasons why the divine being produced 2 new races of men different from Adam. Actually, I'm going to stop there. We'll pause there. All right, so if you haven't kept up with the book, what this guy reckons is that God made 3 sons of Noah, and they were all different complexions. Like from birth, they were struck with different complexions because that's how God decided to make them. And Ham is the black one because God hates blacks. Apparently, that's the. So yeah, that's the. Back to the. Where was I? 2 new races of men from Adam. Change of the climates. Oh, this is the summary. Okay, I'll skip the summary and I'll just go straight to the book. 3, 2, 1. The 3 sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, were all born about 100 years before the flood, came and assisted their father in building the ark as soon as they were old enough. These 3 sons were, no doubt, produced, at least 2 of them, Ham and Japheth, with constitutions differing from each other as much as they differed in appearance, with a strict reference to the changes the earth was about to undergo by the effects of the universal deluge. The divine being knew that when the flood should come and destroy the earth, by the violence and operations of the waters, that the climates would be greatly changed from what they had been from the creation. This effect was to be produced by the uncovering of vast regions of the subterraneous seas, which was done when the fountains of the great deep were broken up. See Genesis 7:11. For in proportion as the water came up, the land went down, which would produce when the water should retire, on account of more of this element remaining exposed to the air than was the case before the flood, an unhealthy varying humidity over the whole earth. There can be no doubt but the original beauty and arrangement of the countries of the globe have been greatly deranged by the rending currents of the overwhelming waters. The falling in of entire regions of the original surface, occasioned by the quivering of the earth, as doubtless as it was shaken by the divine power for that very purpose. By this means the coverings of the great deep were removed and went down to the bottom of the seas. Prior to the flood, it is our belief that the whole surface of the earth was so united by land as not to be separated by water, except mere rivers, small lakes and streams, when both men and animals could and did pass, without interruption, quite around it. Instead of 5 oceans, which now nearly swallow up the whole earth, 1/4 only excepted, there was everywhere beautiful lakes, great and small rivers, both salt and fresh, with brooks and fountains so arranged as to beautify and adorn the whole, as well as accommodate every species of animal existence in the most happy and convenient manner, making it the abode of men and nations, where sickness and death, even after the fall, could scarcely enter except by violence. 1/2 of the primitive Earth's surface was water, and the other land. But the two elements were so mingled and arranged as that the exhalations, by the actions of the sun's rays, produced a happy and equal humidity of rains and dews, thus securing an equilibrium of temperature, health, and growth of all things suitable for food within the Arctic and the Antarctic circles. But when the flood came, it tore by its currents, shook and dissolved the beautiful earth to a mass of entire chaos, as it was when it was first created, and before the water and the earthy matter were separated by the divine power primevally. Many regions of the ancient earth, where dwelt the first nations between Adam and the flood, now lie buried beneath the weltering waves of seas and oceans. This change of the ancient surface from land to a disproportionate quantum of water produced, as already said, an entire alteration of the primitive climates, causing a corresponding revolution in the products of the earth on which men and animals were to subsist, unfavourable to health and long life, thus aiding in the abridgment of the age of man from 5, 6, 7, 8, and even 900 years, down to the pitiful amount of 70, or a little over, as it sometimes happens. On this very account, the change of the Earth's first climates from a steady, even temperature to those of a more changeable character, impregnated with fiery air in one region and damp, cold fogs in another, the fumes of stagnant morasses and waters, with pestilential winds commingling and pouring their death-dealing influences over almost every country. God saw proper, in view of all this, to produce two new races of men who were adapted in their formation, size, colour, and constitutions to this new state of things which was to take place by means of the flood. All right. What an interesting exercise in racism, but just bad biology, bad understanding of, just a bad understanding of how it works. It's so firstly on the flood, I performed some rudimentary calculations, and I've come to the conclusion that you would need, if you had a flood 2 meters high, let's say you had a worldwide flood 2 meters high, you would need about 730 times more water that is on the earth today. And if you needed a flood that is as high as Everest, would need about 3.3 million times more water than what is on the earth today. So this idea that just the middle of the earth broke open. Okay, so you need, because the radius is high, you would need even more water. So one thing I ask when talking about the flood is, where did all the water come from and where did all the water go? And the other thing about the flood is that you would either have such stifling humidity that no one would be able to breathe, or you would have such thick humidity that there would be no sunlight and people would, you'd die. And also nothing would grow. So I just wonder how Noah got a year's worth of food on board. It is quite interesting. But this is the thing. When you base your reality off of mythology, you come up with really weird things like this. So what can I say? Don't base your reality off of mythology is the lesson here. But anyway, how far are we in? Okay. I'll go for a few more paragraphs, and I'll restart the book in 3, 2, 1. If such was not the reason for the divine procedure, in producing the two new races, then it is hidden from mortal research and belongs to the unrevealed history of the councils of heaven, or at any rate, it is hidden from the penetration of the writer. From the account in the book of Genesis, we find that the sons of Noah had taken them wives but a little before the flood, as we learn they had no children till after they'd made the voyage of that shoreless ocean, and the ark had rested on the mountain Ararat in Armenia of Asia Minor. The wives they married, as to blood and complexion, were the same with all the antediluvians, red or copper-coloured women, as there were no others to marry. Japheth being a blue-eyed white man, and Ham a woolly-headed black-eyed black man, their children, of necessity, would be of a mixed character in some cases, and in others there will be the likeness sometimes of one parent and sometimes the likeness of the other. Had the wife of Ham been as black and woolly-headed as he was himself, then their race would have been without any marked variation, always woolly-headed, both male and female, forever, as nature, without the intervention of a miracle, does not leap out of the courses in any of God's work. But as in the race of the white man, there are found black-eyed and black-headed individuals with what is called a dark complexion, even in white families. We believe that this is the result of the blood of Japheth's wife, who was copper-coloured, being mixed with his, who was a blue-eyed white man. The same is the effect now. When the whites mix with the Indians or the Arabs, Hindus, or the people of the East Indies, some of the offspring have fair and white complexions, with light blue eyes and auburn hair, as well as often white and even red hair, while others are much darker, with jet-coloured hair and eyes of the same description. In process of time, the influence of the blood of the white man will run out entirely the influence of the female blood as to complexion, if no further mixing takes place, there remaining no trace of it except in the hair and the eyes, which is known to be true. This same rule operates in the case of the Negro man when his blood is mixed with Indian blood. The power of the male overcomes and runs out the female in relation to her colour, causing the offspring to become thoroughly Negro if there is no further mixing as to complexion, while the hair and contour of the face will continue to be in imitation of the mother in many instances, but in many more it will be like the father. This is also known to be true. This, in our opinion, was the way the marriage of Ham with the antediluvian girl operated, and thus in the first ages, and as is now the case, there produced the woolly-headed and the straight-haired Negro, such as were some of the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites, with the Carthaginians, and many of the Africans at the present time, but all pure Negroes. From this, there can scarcely be a doubt that the early nations took advantage of this trait of nature's operations by mixing the blood of such males and females as had not the woolly head together on account of their being far more comely to look upon, avoiding wholly or generally the Negroes of the other description, which was perfectly natural and even commendable. In this way there was produced, and ever has been, two races of black or Negro men. The straight-haired Negro has never been found to be more intellectual, enterprising, or comely to look at than the other races who, from earliest time, have been made slaves of. The woolly heads have always, as a people, been less inclined to improvement, either physically or mentally. By this means, it is seen that the two races had early a mighty barrier placed between them, so that when a woolly head married with a straight-haired black person, it was held as great a disgrace for the straight-haired one as it is now when the whites amalgamate with the blacks. This race of Negroes are found to have heads shaped more after the Caucasian or European model, which was derived from the blood of Ham's antediluvian wife, while the other race of Negroes, having from affinity of looks, feelings, propensities, and moral abilities, cleave to each other in marriage or sexual union. They have therefore propagated and perfected a progeny like themselves, wholly inferior to all the other people of the human race, who were never the authors of anything great on the earth. No, not even as imitators of others, except now and then as individual. Holy shit. Holy shit, that is this is that is your brain on Christian fundamentalism. I have to say, this is this is what happens when you so I'm gonna put a bookmark there. I think I'm done. I think I'm done for today. But yeah, so this is the view when the Bible is basically the only book you read. When you filter everything through the Bible and you're trying to be as racist as possible, this is like, it's almost like, there's no lazy white people. No, never at all. It's like all the, and like there's no way that black people, like woolly haired black people, can do anything good. Yeah, this is how. Yeah, this is the thing. And the problem is that this view is still prevalent today, in 2022, almost 200 years after this book was written. Yeah, it's and I have to say, even his view of how the races mix and all that kind of stuff. My wife is a different race to me, and our children are, they have some features of me, but they have probably more features of my wife. I would say, like, they look more like my wife than me. Like, they got basically my body, but with my wife's good looks. And it's it's just amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing when you're a racist and a Christian fundamentalist, and you have a bad understanding of the biology and geology and anthropology. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. I'm worn out from that. Till next time, look after yourselves, stay safe, check out the podcast. There's usually great stuff coming from the podcast, but sometimes some really bad stuff as well. But yeah, till next time, look after yourselves. See ya.